This is Clive.
This is Chris.
This is Adrian.
This is Lisa.
This is Ben, and you're listening to the Wood Fired Oven Podcast with Mark Gostin.
Thanks, Ben. At the start of season 2, I had the great privilege of sitting down with Ben Guilford, the founder of the Firebrick Company, and having a chat about his wonderful business. Today, I get the factory walkthrough. Join me for part 1 as I go exploring. Okay, so Ben, you very kindly agreed to show me around your factory.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Okay, should we go for a wander?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Well, we'll start with where we are.
Okay,
so
where are we?
We're in this was the first factory that I leased way back in 2011. And we've got a little showroom set up in here. So for customers to come and see us. So they come in and see our lovely customer service man, Jeremy.
Well, you're very nice puppies here. What are your dogs' names?
Okay, we have Bo and Bella.
Bo and Bella.
Hello. The Labradors.
They're gorgeous. I've heard about your Labradors. Somebody texted me the other day and said, make sure you say hi to
That might be my darling wife. She may have mentioned them. No, they're just nice to have.
They're lovely.
We could leave them at home, but they just love people.
They love coming to work with Ben. And
that's it. They're very spoiled. So they're the welcoming committee. So if anyone does come down here, then the welcoming committee will bound out to greet them.
They're just gorgeous. And you've got a big, gorgeous fireplace here in your reception. So this is your reception room, is it?
This is our reception. Yeah. And so we've got this lovely solid stone wall here.
Yeah.
This with a fireplace in the middle of it. This is actually 3.5 tons of solid stone.
It's gorgeous. What sort of stone is that? It's beautiful.
It's called Mount Angus sandstone. It's just beautiful. It's lovely, warm colour to it, and we just like having the fire going in the winter.
Yeah, it's nice because Melbourne gets a bit cold, doesn't it?
And it's doing that today.
It is.
I think it's your fault.
Well, yesterday in the city, it was sunny. It was fantastic, gorgeous. It was warm. Last time I was in Melbourne, about a week and a half ago, it was 5 degrees on the tarmac. So it is.
It's brisk.
It's brisk.
Yeah, and I blame you.
Well,
it was fine until you arrived. It was delightful.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So this is our reception, and then if we come through this here door, we come into our showroom proper.
Yeah.
So we've got our P85 oven here on display. We also have our D105 there, and this is actually where we do all our filming. Okay. So if you've seen any of the videos, which you have, you've been subjected to an awful lot of them.
I have watched pretty much all of them.
Yes. So this is where we actually do all the filming.
Okay.
So we've set up this room with sort of acoustic lining on the walls to try and improve the sound a little bit. But really, primarily, it's a place where people who are interested in our ovens can come and actually see them.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think one of the biggest things is getting an idea of the size. So there's lots of photos online and the videos. So you can get a good idea of what the oven looks like. But actually getting an understanding of the physical size of them, it's lovely to be able to come and see one.
So on the right-hand side here, I'm looking at the oven that's in my backyard.
Correct.
That's the D105.
That is correct.
And it's spectacular. And next to us here is the P85, right?
Correct.
And it's the first time in person that I've actually seen one. And it's a great size. I imagine that would be very popular in smaller gardens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually one of our most popular ovens, period. And for a few reasons. One of them is the physical size, because the brick ovens they're a beautiful thing. I love them to bits, but they're big.
Yeah.
They take up a fair bit of real estate, whereas the P85 is more compact, but it still has a really respectable amount of cooking space. So if you have a look inside,
so it's got the same floor,
same floor tiles, cut slightly differently. They're a little smaller. The whole
that's a great size, isn't it?
It's a good size, so you can still comfortably fit with your eyes closed. You could have 2 pizzas cooking.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So look, a lot of people say, "Oh, do I need this big oven?" Like I was thinking about getting the D130.
Yeah.
So
you haven't got one here in the
we don't have a
here.
D130 on display. We have the D105 and the P85 because they're the most popular ovens in our arsenal. We have the D95 and the D130. The D130 is a commercial oven. So if you rang us up and said, Ben, I want to order the D130, this actually happens all the time.
Yeah.
We'll actually actively try to talk you out of it.
Oh, will you?
Unless,
oh my gosh.
Well, the first question.
But it looks amazing though.
It's gorgeous.
It's huge. It's got what a presence.
It's got a lot of presence. Yeah. Certainly has presence. But the first question we ask is, are you starting a restaurant? Is this for a commercial purpose? Because that is really what it's designed for.
Yeah, right.
It's designed for commercial use. And the big thing being it's got a very long heat up time. It's over 4 hours.
Yeah, that's
to go from cold to
that's
pizza
almost
ready.
double the 105 perhaps.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's because you're heating up a huge amount of thermal mass. So the downside, and people say, yeah, no problem, no, 4 hours, I don't care. The only problem with that is if you're having, say, 3 friends over, are you going to take the time and the fuel?
Yeah, sure.
You're going to expend all that fuel just to cook 6 pizzas. So the D130 is an absolute monster. And look, people still buy them for their backyard. It's just not something that we sort of tell them to do.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Anyway, so
is this model here, the P85, so that's more popular than the D105 in Australia?
So in terms of overall sales volumes, we see in a given month, we will usually sell equal quantities of the P85 to the combination of all 3 brick oven models. That's roughly what we normally see.
Okay.
It varies month to month, of course, but so the P85 by itself will sell, so in a month, we might sell, say, 40 P85s.
Yeah.
And then we might sell, say, 25 D105s, maybe 10 D95s and 5 D130s, something like that.
Okay.
So we don't sell lots of the D130s because we want to make sure that people end up with the best oven for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if someone does call up and want the D130, we have to make sure you're sure that's going to be the best one for you.
Yeah. You want a huge family. A big family.
A big family. And you want to be cooking a whole lamb every fortnight or something to make it worthwhile.
A big piggy or something.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
you can still, the thing is, this is the thing, the D105, you can still cook a big piggy in the D105. It's not a small oven. You've got it.
It's huge.
It's only if you wanted to stretch out a whole lamb, cook a whole lamb in one piece, the D130 would be the way to go. But hey, if you want to cut a lamb in half, you could probably actually get it into the D105. So anyway.
Okay,
yes.
well, that's great. And we're looking, we had a chat before we came on air. We're looking at some tools that you've got hanging on the wall here between your 2 ovens.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about these tools.
By all means. So Grand Ridge Forge is owned by Dennis Newton, who I have known since grade 5.
Grade 5?
Yes,
wow,
it's been a long
cool.
time.
Wow, that's neat.
He's a horrible man. No. I love him to bits. And Dennis actually worked for us full-time as our salesman.
I might have chatted to him when I bought mine a few years back, perhaps.
Yeah, it would have been about that time because it was just before he finished up just as good old COVID was kicking off. And so he is now manufacturing these beautiful wood-fired oven tools.
Yeah, they are gorgeous, aren't they?
They are. They're really pretty.
So what wood have you got on the handle here?
It's called Quilla.
Quilla.
It's basically Merbau.
Okay.
And so the beauty of it as a timber, it's fantastic for outdoor use.
Yeah.
Very resistant to weathering, but it's also very, very dense and it doesn't burn well.
Yeah.
I remember getting some offcuts and I thought, I'll just chuck these on the fire and use it as kindling or whatever. Yeah. And it just sat there.
Did it? Didn't.
And it burnt eventually, but the beauty of them is you want something that's sort of fire resistant as your handle because you can actually have the tool in the oven for a bit of time while you're fiddling around trying to turn your pizza.
Absolutely right.
I mean, the big one is like the coal scoop. And the coal scoop is the one I use the most. You can tell by how dirty it is.
It's a great tool, actually. I use my coal scoop and my hook probably the most.
Yes.
I love them both. They're fantastic.
Well, the scoop, you're moving your coals around with it. You're moving literally red hot coals with it. And so you want to make sure that, that the timber that you're using for the handle is going to handle that.
I see what you did there, Ben. Yeah,
that was fun. So anyway, so we've got, I love the timber. And the other thing is we use exactly the same timber for our door handles.
You do too.
So they match beautifully.
I never noticed that before.
We use that because, look, the door gets hot.
It
you
does.
could put your oven door into the oven. So if you take your oven door and put it all the way into the oven when the oven's at 450 Celsius, man, the door's going to get very hot.
Oh, yeah.
And we have the door handles obviously spaced back away from the door itself. But if they were made of pine, they would probably ignite. And so by
if they were metal, they'll get very hot too.
Well, that's the thing. So in normal use, like you don't normally put the door in maybe when the oven's 600 degrees. But in normal use, if you had metal handles and you grab them, even if they're only like 150 degrees or something, you're going to get burnt.
Oh yeah.
Whereas timber, because it's not a good conductor of heat, the surface of the timber could be quite hot, but it won't pass a lot of heat into your hand.
Gotcha. Right.
So, and they're just pretty.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is this oven So we're standing in front of the D105, which
Yes.
is the same one I've got. Now, the door placement with this oven, I think there's 2 or 3 locations that this door can actually go with this oven. I wanted to ask you about the 3 or the 2 or 3 locations
this
that
is
we
the thing.
go.
I like, and so in reading the notes in my weeks of preparation I did for this, Mark, weeks.
Yeah, good. Because I spent yesterday afternoon at a cafe drinking coffee.
But you were talking about like the 2 to. You mentioned the 2 to 3 locations for the door, and I'm like, I feel like there's like 18.
Because
because
I've already found 3.
well, okay. Well, I mean, if we start, we're looking at the oven here, and the door is sitting out on our lovely granite landing, and actually having a landing.
This granite is lovely, actually.
It
Beautiful
is,
detail.
it is pretty, and it's functional.
Yeah.
So it handles heat really well. Granite's got one of the best heat handling characteristics of any natural stone.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So it handles the heat really well. It's really hard wearing, and it also doesn't soak up oil. It's a polished surface.
Yep.
Look, I've seen people use things like bluestone, which is beautiful. I love bluestone, but it is a porous.
Okay, so it's going to suck in all those oils
and you know how.
Yeah.
Look at I mean, look at the tiles here. They've got there's oil stains all over them. Now I can get the coals onto this, and I'll burn all of that out. That'll disappear, but I can't do that on my landing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
So I've got the landing here, and that gives me a platform that I can put the door on and slide it in front of the oven, and I can use that. I call it a draft door.
Yep.
So I'm controlling the flow of air into the oven. And look, you can do that for a few reasons. One of them might be just simply slowing down the airflow into the oven to limit the combustion and reduce that burn rate. But for me, the main reason I will do this is for wind.
Okay.
And now we're indoors, so wind is not a problem here, which is lovely. I love it.
It's very cozy in here, and with the fire on.
It is really nice.
Nice spot to have a feed on a Friday afternoon.
We are very spoiled. Like I was saying, we do a last Friday of the month.
That's so cool. That's
we
great.
finish half an hour early for staff.
Great.
The whole team comes in, and usually Marcus, who's our internal cooking professional, who you might have seen on the Flamesmith Feast video that we did.
Yes, we did. Yep.
So he'll cook up something, and he's always trying to do something different. It's fantastic. Anyway, we are indoors, and so we don't have to worry about wind blowing the smoke around.
Yeah.
And because you mentioned, the front of your oven's so clean.
Yeah, it is.
And the reason for that,
ridiculously clean.
It is ridiculously clean. It's not because we haven't used it. It gets a lot of use.
You're sure? Yeah.
I promise. It's not just a show
this
pony.
is a show. No,
This
is
the special showroom oven.
Nice and dirty inside, just like mine. So it gets used.
It gets used. It's not exposed to the wind.
Yeah.
And unlike the oven out the front, which is exposed. It's another D105 out the front of the showroom.
Yeah, walk past on
and
the way
that's
in.
got
Lovely.
that lovely soot staining on the arch, which I really like.
So do I. Yeah,
it happens because of the wind. So when the wind blows, it doesn't matter which direction it's coming from, it is going to try and disturb the flow of smoke up the chimney. So rather than the smoke flowing smoothly up the chimney, a cross breeze or a breeze into the mouth of the oven or from the back of the oven, all of those will actually sort of disturb that flow.
That
and
lovely
bring
laminar flow is going to get,
sweet laminar flow.
It's late laminar flow. So the position you've got your door here, this is exactly how I use my door. It's about an inch out of the front. In the middle. I used to have it off to the side like that.
Yes.
But after one of your videos, I'm sure a year or two back, I think you suggested, no, guys, put it in the front of the oven, about an inch back, about there is what I'm looking at. Yeah. And that's great. And actually at night time, it glows around here, around the outside of the door, so I can sit in my chair over there with a glass of red wine and watch
see that glow around the perimeter of the door.
It's very cool. It's very nice. Yeah.
Well,
great.
and I've learned things over the years just from like using the ovens, but also talking to customers and so on. We used to shove the door against the face of the oven on the outside, and then just push it to one side, like that.
Yeah.
This is very difficult to describe in audio, but the joy of podcasting.
That's right. You've got a little gap on the right-hand side next to the
correct,
the,
and
the
our
bricks
air's coming through there.
Yeah.
But what it's also doing is it's preventing any smoke from coming out.
Yeah.
So we've got airflow in. Because we're dictating a small area that the air can flow into the oven. And so it'll suck air in around the door, and then all the smoke goes up the chimney. When you build your oven, which direction should you face it? For smoke, right? And actually, I was my brother-in-law Rob built a P85 down Phillip Island, lovely part of the world.
Nice.
We went down and visited him a couple of weeks ago, and he's had a great time. And this is he would not call himself a natural DIY. He's done a terrific job. It's gorgeous.
Nice.
It's penny tiles over the dome.
Oh, fantastic!
Anyway,
lovely. Gorgeous.
Rob, his first question was, he said, I love it, but I'm a little bit bummed. I feel like I faced it the wrong way because it's near the ocean. So they get a fair old wind through there. He said, I feel like I should have faced it slightly differently,
Okay.
To avoid smoke coming out the mouth. And I said, look, honestly, doesn't matter which way you face it. If you have any wind, it's going to disturb the flow. And I'm going to do a little video on that hopefully soon. I'm just getting a good old fan
and
showing you.
Yeah,
because if you blow air into the front of an open oven, so you've got the door's gone now, and we're just looking at the open mouth of the oven, the fire's burning away. If you force air into that wind, you'll create too much pressure in the oven, and instead of that nice laminar smooth flow up of smoke up the chimney, it'll push smoke out.
It does, right into your face.
Right into your face, right? So wind's blowing into the oven. Well, that pushes smoke out the front because it creates positive pressure in the oven. Okay, well, fine. We'll put it the other way around. So the wind comes from the back.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever driven behind a semi-trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On the way here today, in fact.
You get in behind a semi and it pulls you along.
Yeah, great.
And the reason for that is, and you know this, from, you're a pilot.
Yeah.
You know all about, drag. And there's a negative pressure region behind a bluff body like a truck. So basically as air, if we blew air from the back of the oven, we would actually create this area of negative pressure in front of the oven mouth, and that will suck smoke out.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
So we can't win.
No, you
can't.
can't.
So then you're like, okay, no, wait. You go on side on.
Side on,
surely that's the solution. And the problem then with side on, so if smoke's coming across the mouth of the oven left to right, and that will create little eddies of air.
Okay.
And that'll pull the smoke out. So basically,
you can't
don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about it.
It's going to function just fine.
And that was the thing. It was quite nice for Rob just to reassure him, man, you wouldn't have improved it.
Yeah.
So then it's not a consideration for where to put your oven. Don't worry about that stuff. Yeah. And that's actually, we just shot a video on Saturday. Joel and I filmed again.
Yep.
And it's a in-depth video that's going to go at the start of the building series. And it's just taking everyone through the considerations of where do you build your oven.
And that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's something that's, well, you can't move it. It's
very
heavy.
permanent.
It's very permanent.
Yeah.
It's staying put.
Yes.
And so you do have to get that right. And last season we spoke to Clive, the Woodford Oven Chef on YouTube.
Yep.
Lovely guy. He went into details about the importance of the placement of the oven because it is there a long time. How does it interact with your outdoor settings?
Yes.
Where are you going to sit? Where are you going to have your glass of wine or your beer as you're watching this fire? Because it is not just a pizza oven we're looking at here. No. It's an outdoor fire. It's an oven that is lit by fire, and it is
well, and it's a centerpiece of your backyard.
It is. It is an house.
It really can be. It is very much a feature.
Yeah.
Whether it's burning or not,
It's
and we've tried really hard. I'm an engineer, right? So I tend to make things very functional.
Yeah.
I'm good at making stuff that doesn't break.
Yeah.
And works. It works. But when it comes to making it attractive, that's not my natural thing.
Okay.
Right? So I've worked quite hard to get over that, and on this, and to make it beautiful.
Well, it does look gorgeous.
I think so. I love the natural brick of the front.
Same. It's fantastic.
And the curves of the flue gallery. I really like it, and so it is this lovely focal point in your yard.
I see some of your customers paint this gorgeous brickwork
too,
and that looks amazing.
It does. It looks really smart. Yeah.
So is that done with high temp?
It's done with the exact high temp paint that we provide for the flue gallery. So that's an optional extra that people can order. So it's called PPG Temp Tech 328. And you say, well, why do I care about that? Well, we went through basically every high temperature paint that was available. And we narrowed it down to this PPG product because what we were finding was most high temperature paints are designed to go into metal. And they don't necessarily like going onto, say, refractory brick or in the case of the flue gallery, refractory concrete.
Right.
And we were finding that a lot of them would blister, but the PPG didn't. So anyway,
gotcha.
There was months of research in that.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
back to the door. Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
We're talking doors.
Yeah. We're talking doors. Then
okay.
we're talking locations.
Now, if I won't because I'm holding the mic. But if we put this door under the lip and against the,
so we can push the door
all the way back.
And you hear that nice sound?
Yep. So it's fully closed, like my electric oven door inside my house.
Just like that.
Why would I have my door in this position?
Okay, so you would do that because you are trying to trap all of the heat in, and you don't want a fire burning. If you put the door all the way into the oven, the design of our oven has the flue outside the oven.
It does, yeah.
Right, so, and that's very deliberate. That means the flue won't be drawing hot air out of the oven chamber.
Yeah, gotcha.
So all the hot air is trapped in the oven. We don't have cold air circulating through the dome and then, being taken away out of the flue. So when I put the door in is when I'm doing like roasting and baking without a live fire. But I also put it in at the end of every firing. So let's say I do pizza on Friday night. At the end of all the pizza, everyone's gone home. It's time to pack the oven up. I put the door all the way in so that the next day I'm coming back to an oven that's as hot as possible.
So if you're wanting to use all that gorgeous retained heat, that's heat soaked into the brickwork the next day, that's the position to do it on your Friday night.
That's the position. So when you're shutting down your oven for the night, door all the way in, and that will, if there is a fire burning, that will put it out. Now, I could talk about that for 10 minutes. Because what I would say is I don't usually recommend putting the door all the way in until you're down to some coals. The reason being, if you've got a wet sort of green piece of wood burning in there, you put the door all the way in, you'll get a whole bunch of creosote build up on the back. And it'll become a sticky tar. That oozes down onto the floor. It kind of stinks and it's gross. You can burn it off. It's not the end of the world. But you put your door in to shut the oven down. And that means you're coming back to an oven the next day that's going to be really hot still. Because you're not losing,
wasting all of that heat.
Hello.
Ah!
Is this Cryptic Kate?
It's my darling wife.
Nice to meet you. How are you? It's lovely to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, really good.
Oh, it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, great. Did you want to come on and have a chat? No, you don't. No, but you are now, you see, because look, it's recording.
You've already had a chat. She's on the podcast.
Okay, so that covers the door all the way back. Now, if I was to pull the door straight back, it's going to go clunk, and it's going to connect with the back of the arch here.
Okay.
So why would I do that?
I don't normally do that.
Okay.
Now
Me
you
neither,
can,
but why?
So the reason, because a lot of people ask us, hang on, Ben. Actually, this is a funny one. People will get to the stage of the build where they've laid the vent arch, and they take the formwork out, and they immediately grab their oven door, and they're like, I can't wait to put this thing in. It's going to look so cool. And they go to put the door in, and it doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit.
It sits.
I know.
It sits. It's about 15 mil higher than the arch. It goes clonk, and then they freak out.
And they call up Ben and say,
well, thankfully, it's in the written instructions now.
Who reads those?
It's in the instructions.
Thank goodness
and it's
for
like
your YouTube
highlighted.
videos.
It's like, don't panic. You've got to tilt the door forward to get it into the opening. Please don't pull your arch down and try and rebuild it.
Right.
I've had people do that.
Oh dear.
No. But anyway, so the reason the door is higher than the front arch is so that we get a good seal on the entry arch, the one that's inside the oven. I want to get the oven, so when we push the door in, I want it not to seal just against the rebate on the left and right, but on the bricks that make up what we call the entry arch.
Gotcha.
So that's why we have the door a little bit taller. Now, in answer to your question, well, could we pull the door all the way back and so that it's sitting away from the oven chamber a little bit? That wouldn't do a lot for you. What you could do is raise it up. So you could pull the oven door back and then lift it up on little blocks so that you were getting airflow under the oven.
Gotcha.
Under the door, sorry. But that is quite awkward. And the awkwardness is, well, you want to put in a piece of wood. Well, now you have to take these little chocks out from under your door and then take your door out and then put your wood in and then reset it all up again. That's a whole thing.
Right.
And that's the beauty of having a landing is if you're wanting to get airflow into the oven and direct all the smoke up the chimney, use your oven as a draft door at the front. Where it's convenient. You can pivot it away and throw wood in. Now, what you can do, though, is push your door all the way in. And this is what I did for the smoking video.
Oh, we talked about that.
I wanted, in our smoking video, we were cooking at very low temperatures, and I just had a little basket of charcoal burning. I didn't want to have lots of airflow into the oven. When you're smoking, you want very small, very slight airflow.
Nice, slow smolder.
Correct. And I'm not an expert on that stuff at all. But basically, what I did was I could just open the door just slightly, just by pivoting it. And so you can see that, and the listeners, what I've done here is I've taken the door, I've pushed it all the way into the oven and sealed the chamber.
Yep.
And then all I've done is just pivot it out just a tiny bit to let a little bit of airflow around the door.
So the left-hand edge of the door, not the right-hand. In this case, the left-hand edge has a few mil gap.
It's like 10 mil, 15 mil gap away from the opening, and that's letting in a tiny little bit of air and letting out a tiny little bit of smoke. Because you've got to have both. You can't just have air going in and nothing coming out. So those are the two sort of major uses I have for the doors. We use it as a draft door.
Okay.
To go full. I'm going pretty well full firing at that point, but I'm trying to direct all the smoke up the chimney, and I'm reflecting radiant heat back into the oven that would otherwise be lost.
Okay.
The other way of using the door, so the second way, is to push it all the way in and seal the chamber.
Yep.
Retained heat, baking,
Fabulous.
Really slow cooking, but no airflow, no air movement. And then another way, I'm not going to say the last way because there's probably
18 on your list.
probably like 17 other ways of using it. Another way is to just have the door all the way in, but then pivot it out a little bit just to allow some airflow. And if I wanted more airflow, I just pivot it out a bit further.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what about during the light up of your oven? Now,
Yes.
you've done some fabulous videos on different ways of getting your oven efficiently heated up.
Yep. You've done a lot of good work on that
Well,
as well. I think I've been
it's interesting.
stealing some of your ideas.
That's all right. No, I'll let you do that. Now, in my kitchen, I've got an electric oven.
Yep.
And when I turn my oven on to 180 degrees, instructions tell me to shut the door.
Yes.
So if I'm lighting up my oven with wood burning in the back, wouldn't it be a good idea to have the door at the front to keep a lot of that heat in as it's heating up? Now, a lot of guys don't. A lot of guys have their door off to the side and they just let the thing fire away. Am I going to get the oven up to temp quicker by utilising the door through that 2.5 hours?
That is an excellent question.
Thank you.
And it's got my engineering bones a tingle.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay.
Because it makes me like, what I want, I actually want to set up 2 test ovens. Identical
that would be
ovens.
interesting.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to have to build another D105.
I'm going to go 2 P85s because they're relatively compact.
Yeah, right.
And they won't take up all the space in the factory. And do side-by-side testing.
that would be
But I would
interesting.
say that if you were to do that side-by-side test, my expectations would be that the fire that has no door, so the oven's got no door, it's just burning. What we're going to see is a lot more cold air being drawn in.
Yep.
Maybe the fire might be burning a little bit harder.
Yep.
That's not necessarily the best of things. You're consuming your fuel very rapidly. What you want is those hot gases to be loitering around in the oven for as long as you can, so they transfer their heat into the thermal mass of the oven, into the walls, into the floor.
Okay.
So then if we looked at the oven, say where we had a door, and it's like, all right, well, where's the best place for the door?
Yeah.
Now that is a tricky one.
Yeah.
But for argument's sake, let's say we put it out the front and we used it as a draft door, just to control airflow.
Yep.
Already we can reduce the flow of air
Yep.
using the draft door by maybe moving it in nice and close to the mouth so that we're not getting an excessive amount of cold air coming in. We're getting the amount of air that we want. And so the burn rate will be a little slower, but maybe then the gases are taking a little longer to leave and they're imparting more heat into the dome.
Okay. And see, that's interesting. You mentioned before that you're also going to get some radiant efficiency off the back of the door heating. Is my dome going to clear quicker by having that draft door at the front? I suspect in my backyard, smoke is a bit of a consideration where I live, right?
Yep.
Okay, so for a lot of folks in their backyard, smoke doesn't matter. I'm visiting Chris Vozo. He's bought one of your ovens.
Fantastic.
I actually visited him last week. And he's got 5 gorgeous acres outside beyond his oven. And
I've seen it. It's so pretty.
That guy's, he's amazing what he does. Smoke is not a consideration for him. Now, I've got neighbours.
Yes.
3 meters that way, 4 meters that way, and 4 meters that way.
Yep.
So I've gone through some trial and error, and we've already discussed this, but I've modified my light up process to try to do what I can to eliminate that smoke. My neighbours don't actually care, but I do, right?
Yeah,
so
You're nice.
Oh yeah, it's good.
You're a good neighbour.
But yeah, I know. I've got this theory, and I don't know. If I have the draft door at the front and I'm keeping as much heat in the oven as possible during that light up,
Yep.
You know, with that inch gap at the front
Yep.
on both
Gotta
sides.
let
all
some
around.
air in.
Yep.
Yep.
Will my dome clear? Because once the oven gets nice and hot, the smoke just disappears. It's all gone. There's nothing. I do get a bit of smoke light up for the first half hour, 45 minutes. If I'm a bit rusty, maybe the first hour. But I've got a theory, and I don't know. I wanted to ask you about it today.
Yes.
Do you think, from a smoke perspective, I'm not worried about the heat, because I got plenty of wood.
Linked, but this is the thing. The two are linked together. So if you're getting your oven hotter faster, that's when you get less smoke. So you and it's sort of, I think everyone listening will have this innate understanding of, a cold fire smokes. But when a fire's burning well, when it's hot, you get very little smoke coming off it at all.
Virtually nothing.
When you look at the flue, you're like, wait, is the oven on?
I know.
Is it burning? And you sort
And
of
you
look
just
for
look
the
at
heat
the
ripples.
shimmering. That's how you know. It's
and
that
so
good. Yeah.
I would say that controlling the flow of air into the oven is going to improve your control over the smoke as well. It's giving you control over everything. Whereas if you just got the oven door wide open, well, then you've got the issue of wind, and you've just got an unlimited amount of air being drawn in. But again, it is something that I would love to do testing on.
Well, I'm waiting for that. That'd be great.
I've got a lot, as you're going to see, I've got a lot on my plate.
Have you?
But the door is not just for shutting the oven down.
No.
You can use it for a whole heap of things.
Yeah, I think it's a really important part of the whole package. I use it all the time. All the time. In fact, I used it so much when I first bought my oven that I had some issues with my paint.
Yes.
And I wanted to chat to you about this today because this is a wood-fired oven. It has flame in it and it gets super hot. So on occasion, you're going to have some of these minor issues pop up. Can you explain to me and to the listeners who might be considering buying one of these ovens, what might have happened to the door on my oven?
Yes.
Where some of that paint did start to peel. Now,
I remember.
I pushed my oven hard, Ben. I pushed it really hard.
And it's not even, and it wasn't you. It wasn't you. So what happened for your wonderful listeners was you built your oven, you'd been using it for a while, and then you contacted us, you sent us a photo and said, look, guys, the paint is blistering. And it wasn't just a couple of little blisters, it was looking pretty haggard.
Yeah.
And I saw it, I was like, what is going on there?
What's Mark doing there with his oven?
And so I at the time, what we were doing was, so the way we make the doors, which you'll see in a second.
Fantastic.
Is we start off with laser cut stainless steel. We weld the components together. We send it off to be blasted. And at that time, it was being hit with a high temperature powder coat.
Ah, right. Okay.
And so right around the time that you contacted us to say, I'm getting some flaking on on the coating on my oven door, you weren't the only one.
Okay, interesting.
Right? And so we sent you another door.
You did. Fabulous.
Which immediately had the same problem.
It did, unfortunately.
And you very patiently said, guys, this is still a thing. And this was so it was not only you, we had a batch, I think it was around 100 doors.
Oh, all around the world.
That got done in this powder coat, and we believe that the powder coat was faulty.
Faulty, really?
We went through a whole investigative process of what on earth happened. Here's the thing, there was about 30 of them in America.
Oh, you're
joking. And now, if any of your listeners have one of these doors and haven't contacted us, please
get on
tell
with
us.
it. Yeah,
just tell us.
sure.
We'll send you a brand new one.
Fantastic.
And that's what we did. With you,
and it's resolved.
You got two.
Man,
I think the same thing happened with Chris. His door had the same problem. But I think one of the questions that some customers have is that they ask about warranties and are you going to look after me in the long run? And I tell you, if a customer from America from 3 years ago reaches out and said, guys, my powder, my door, like the paint's all coming off, we would just send them a brand new one. And so we had to do that. I think we've sent out about 20 or so.
Have you? Okay, so you got through most of them, which is
to America.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, we take customer satisfaction, just your happiness is super important to us.
Look, and I'm not just saying this, but I have to say that your customer care after I bought my oven was fantastic. I got a phone call from you. You won't remember, but I was building my oven, or I might have been in the process of deciding on the oven, and I got a phone call from you as I was coming back from work one day, and we had a good old chat about the oven and where I should be placing it and the style of the oven, and it was great. And ever since, any issues have been resolved immediately without question, and I think that's great. And so all credit to you and your team.
Well, no, I think it's funny. Jeremy started with us a bit over a year ago. I would say he's our sales manager, but then he's not. He's our customer service manager, right? When he started, he came from more of a traditional sales background, and I said, dude, you don't have to sell anything here. People will ring up and order them, but I don't want you ever to do like a hard sell. You don't have to do it. If this is the best product for them, they'll order one.
Yeah.
And if there's something more suitable for them, they'll order that, and that's fine. So we just don't do that. But his job is customer service. And so I have this little spiel that I say to like every customer, if I get a chance to talk to them and when they're placing their order.
Yep.
And I say this particularly to our American customers because they're so far away. I think sometimes they think it's going to be hard to reach us, which it's not. But I say, look, you've got the written instructions there. They're very detailed, so please do read those. And hey, the videos are there to help you as well. And so make sure you go through all of those. But if you get stuck, pick up the phone and call us because part of what you're paying for is not just this product, which we think is a good product, but you're paying for the customer support. And that's very important for, I think, maybe some people say, look at building a wood-fired oven and it's daunting. And that's actually why I developed the kits. Try and take some of the dauntingness. That's not a word.
But that sounds good.
But,
we all know what you mean, Ben.
But, like, I wanted to try and take some of that out of it. But part of I guess, being able to approach the project with confidence and an element of joy is knowing that someone's there to back you up. And so if you get confused, you're like, oh, hang on a second, wait. I've watched the video, but I wasn't quite clear on this point, or I've read the instructions and no, I'm still not quite clear. Call.
Yeah, great.
Call. And occasionally it's funny, we get, I had a customer from Chicago call this morning, Alex. And he said, "Oh, it's your nemesis." From
Alex called before, has he?
Well, because he was saying he'd called, like he said,
is he a frequent caller?
I have called. Through the build, I called Jeremy. It was like every other day.
Did he?
He would call with a question.
Oh,
and
bless him.
And he would apologize. And I'm like, Alex, don't apologize, man.
That's great.
It's part of what.
Yeah.
It truly is part of what we're trying to offer.
Yeah.
Is hey, here's a DIY product that is quite sort of. There's a lot of parts to it.
There is,
But we're here to support you through the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway.
And I think, interestingly, prior to building my oven, I had never done any concrete work. I had never laid a brick in my life.
Yep.
Okay, a bit DIY at home for sure, but not with this sort of product. Your instructions were magnificent, your videos were magnificent, and your customer care was magnificent. So well done you.
Stop it.
It's great. I know.
Stop it at once.
Okay, should we carry on with this factory tour?
Before we do, I will just finish what we're saying about the door. Because remember, we had the issue with the faulty powder coat, right?
We did.
I decided at that point, I said, well, I can't be sending hundreds of these ovens to America and hoping that the doors, that the coating isn't going to fail, right? As much as we're more than happy to replace things, hey, ideally you just get something that worked.
Yeah.
And so I went then through a research phase of trying to find a new coating. We tested several different coatings and we found a new coating. So it's not a powder coat, it's now a high temperature paint.
Okay.
It's applied by a fantastic company in Dandenong. So they sandblast the door and they hit it with this high temperature paint, and it's now been out there for years and it's just performing beautifully.
So you're very happy with it.
And so that's the thing for me is I need to know, particularly given that these ovens are going quite far away now.
And they're heavy and postage.
I want to make sure that everything that we're sending is of the best possible quality and that we're not, that we're not getting too many issues.
Yep,
so.
absolutely.
But if we do, we'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Like a customer, again, I use America as an example because it's so far. Occasionally, an oven kit will arrive and it's got a broken tile. And they'll say, oh, we've got this broken tile. We'll air freight it from here. Yeah, it costs a fortune.
I was about to say,
it costs a fortune.
It's
a brick. It's a brick. It's like 11 kilo brick, and it costs like.
There's one on the floor down there underneath the
like $150 to ship.
Oh my gosh! Well, there you go, listeners. The customer care that's phenomenal.
But we'll do it because that's good service.
Oh, well done.
So anyway,
very good.
Shall we move on with this?
Lead me through this big door here.
All right,
so
we're in
huge door.
our first factory still.
Gosh, is that a crane?
This is we've got this overhead crane that we've got and we use it for our welder, one of our MIG welders, so that we can get the welder anywhere we want on the floor.
So that's the welding shop in there, is it? That's where all the doors are?
No. But look, initially, so this was our first factory and I did everything in here.
Yeah.
It's about 250 square meters. So it's not small, but it's certainly not massive. And so through to the left here, we've got my original workshop, and this is where I used to do everything.
Okay.
So I would hand make the formwork. I would weld up all our Dremel tools, our oven doors.
Oh my gosh.
Everything was done in this space here.
So I'm looking at a workshop that has a huge steel table in the middle of it, and on the outside is lots of other tables and lots of different drills
benches,
and
there's
benches.
tubs and tubs and tubs of screws and bolts and fittings, and it's loosely labelled. But if you think that's a big table, wait till you
a big
see
table. That's huge.
the actual welding table.
Okay, all right.
But so we in this space now, this is predominantly used for R&D, so research and development, and making. I would say the supporting infrastructure to actually make the ovens.
Right.
Because it's gone from what was a very small operation where, look, I remember thinking, I just need to make one oven per week. And then I get to eat. Right? That was my saying. Like, I was like,
even for
one
eating.
oven a week. Yeah. If I can sell one oven kit per week, I get to eat. And now we're selling, on average, we sell about 2 or 3 ovens a day.
Good grief, do you? That's fantastic.
which is like, it's such a blessing. It's like it's ridiculous.
That's fantastic. Would you have dreamed of that back in 2011 when you started the business?
I remember thinking, man, if I was selling 5 ovens a week, this is crazy. And now our peak, I can't remember how many ovens we sold. Most ovens sold in a day was 41.
Someone's sneaking past us.
Yeah, we got.
Hello.
This is Matt.
G'day, Matt. How are you, Matt?
Matt is my right-hand man.
What do you do, Matt? How are you, Matt? Nice to have you on the podcast.
Hey, nice to be here.
So what do you do here?
Anything and everything Ben needs.
He's basically my right-hand man.
I was about to say.
Yeah, no. So Matt used to be a labourer for us. Yep. Then he abandoned us and went to this rad, YouTube editing job, and then he got sick of that.
Did you?
6 months later, he decided to return to the fold.
Is it?
But I knew that Matt was just amazing with his hands. I can show this guy something. I show him something once, and it's like he mimics my movements.
Really?
When he does it. It's kind of awesome.
That's pretty impressive. What's he like as a boss?
He's a really good boss.
There was a pause there. There was a distinct pause.
There was, and Ben's giving you the death stare. No. He's going to be
to you after he's gone.
Very nice to meet you.
I'm nice. I think, so what I was going to say was in terms of what I do now, because I used to do everything. I used to I have a line that I use with all the guys, and I say, I used to have to do this all by myself. You think this is hard? I used to have to do this all by myself.
And they say, well, it was your choice to do everything anyway.
Yeah, they love, I try and use it at least once a day.
But now you can load shed, right? And you've got folk doing different bits for you, and you can relax.
Team.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I'm just relaxing. I'm just lying back.
Oh, of course you are. You do nothing. So how many staff have you got?
We have 12 at the moment.
Okay, good stuff.
So myself and my wife, we've got Jeremy, we've got Marcus, who's doing all production management. But yeah, so Matt is my sort of right-hand man in terms of our work is making jigs, fixtures, making sure all the infrastructure is there and continues to work. Yeah. Actually, I'll show you the thing that Matt's working on at the moment. So we do, I would say, the projects, which is fun. So when Matt came back as, he'd been a labourer, and I said, no, I'm not going to put you back on, I'm not saying you're never going to labour again, but I've got a lot of projects that I need help with, and it's brilliant having that help.
That's fantastic.
So, but we'll show you some of that.
So I heard from one of the listeners recently who's come to the factory and had a bit of a look around, that he said Ben is really innovative with what he's doing with development of these kits. So do you see yourself as a bit of an innovator in the field of making this sort of stuff?
Well, I guess how I would see our little business here is we're like a small scale manufacturer. And what I'm trying to make sure is that all of our manufacturing processes are really refined. So firstly, we're getting a great quality product, number one, but that we can do it safely and we can do it quickly. Yeah. And so if I can come up with a machine or like some kind of thing, little robot, which you're gonna see so there's some pretty cool stuff here.
Oh, cool.
If I can develop something that makes the work easier for the guys, it pays off in so many ways. It makes their jobs more enjoyable. It makes the work go faster, which brings costs down. And I just love
you making stuff.
Yeah, I love making stuff. I love making stuff. That's the story of my life.
Okay, good. And while we're walking, you sent me some photos recently of your fence outside your house that you're building.
Oh, my word.
So you go home at the weekend, right?
Oh,
and you're still lifting heavy brickwork and doing all that stuff. And didn't you say you're building D105 as well?
That's the plan. So the D105, listeners, 1,000 apologies. Some other things have had to take precedence over building the oven at my home. So Kate and I, we bought a house about a year ago.
Congratulations.
I know, and we love it. We absolutely love it. But so it needs a front fence.
Yeah.
And
looked pretty impressive, those photos you sent me.
Well, I thought about, just, a bit of cyclone fencing. And then we ended up I've done these 6 columns.
Yeah, they're massive.
It's taken me 6 months.
Was that your COVID sourdough project?
Actually, it was. No, everyone else was off making sourdough.
Yeah,
and I was digging holes. And so I actually learned, because I can knock up. I'm not saying I'm good with concrete. I'm competent with concrete.
Yeah.
And so foundations was just a whole lot of digging and then a day of concrete. No problem. So the block work of the columns. If you've watched the video on how to build a stand, the blocks are very easy. You stack them up, you pour concrete into them. Again, very easy. But the cladding, we wanted to finish the columns and do a nice finish. And you may recall the stone wall in the office, 3.5 tons of solid stone.
Did you do that too, did you?
That's what my darling wife decided was going to be the best finish.
Oh, bless Kate.
No, I agreed with her.
Well done. Of course you did.
No, I did actually, literally. But I decided I was going to get a stonemason to do it, but turns out there was none available. And so a friend of mine, Tony Ferraccio, who I love to death, he gave me a 4-hour tutorial on how to hand cut stone.
Yeah.
I spent the following 5 months of my life every weekend and all the lockdown weekends and all of my weeknights.
Gosh.
I would have my wheelbarrow full of tools and I would take them down the front and I would hit rocks.
Oh my gosh. Good effort.
Labour of love.
Well done. Well, most of us were at home killing sourdough starters several times, like me.
Yes.
And you're doing all this stuff. So it was very impressive. Yeah. Well done, you.
I think I like projects.
Yeah.
I need to have something to do.
Yeah.
And I thankfully have projects probably lined up for the rest of my life.
Well done. That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
You're not going to get bored, Ben.
Well, and you're looking at a project here. So we've come out of the workshop. We're still in the first factory. Yep. And one of the things I realized I needed very early on was an area to do spray painting and fiberglassing. If you want to do spray painting and fiberglassing, you really need a spray booth.
Yes.
To do it safely.
Yes.
Because you're creating an explosive, particularly with spray painting, you're creating an explosive atmosphere.
Yep.
So if we come in here,
okay.
This is our spray booth. And I set it up so that I could paint a car in here, which is just because.
It's very red. Well. I'm looking at a room that has got spray paint everywhere.
Well, that actually is
that pink or red?
It is red, and that's gel coat.
Is it?
It's called gel coat. Gel coat is part of the fiberglassing process. So if you look at a boat and you've got a white hull, the white that you're looking at is actually gel coat. It's not a paint that they've applied.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a fiberglass resin that sets rock hard. And so what you do is you start off with your master mold. So we've got this one down here is one of our mold masters.
Yep.
We wax the mold. And I should say before I ramble on, we do all of our own fiberglassing.
Do you?
Part of the process of making a precast oven is, you need to make the precast sections. And I'm going to show you that whole process today. Great. But how we make those is we pour refractory concrete into fiberglass molds.
Okay.
And we make those molds ourselves.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is fun.
Yeah.
It saves.
Are they a one-use mold, or can you use them multiple times?
We can get about 200 pours out of a mold.
Good grief!
Yeah, but it takes a lot of effort. We have to recondition them, so we'll pull them out of production. We'll polish them, and anyway. So we've got our mold master here.
Okay.
We wax that to make sure that the part that we're trying to make doesn't stick to it.
Yep.
So we wax it, so it's perfectly clean. It's got a wax coating that's all polished, and then we spray gel coat over that surface, and in our case, it's red. Right?
Gotcha.
And what that does is it picks up all of the detail of the surface. So you get this lovely, very hard wearing coating on the surface. And then we fiberglass over the top of that. And because the gel coat by itself is very thin, it's very brittle. So you can't just use it by itself.
Yep.
And so you fiberglass over that, and that provides a rigid backing, I guess. So we've got parts here.
Oh, right.
So these are offcuts.
They're like
so you've got
bats.
your red gel coat.
Oh, yes.
So that's a lovely, polished surface. And then behind that, we've got this thick layer of fiberglass to support it.
Yeah, right.
And so this is a room that I built, it's probably 2012, I think.
Okay.
And I tell you, it's just been
does a great job.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because we can turn on the extraction.
Yep.
To a massive fan, and it will pull air through this room so we can do dusty work in here. We still wear a mask, but
But it doesn't seep out into
It doesn't
the other
get out
parts
into
of
the other
factory.
areas,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. Okay.
So yeah, so
Well, it looks like a well-used room.
it certainly is.
Yeah, well done.
So if we move
Okay.
out of here, I don't know if I should take you in order of like.
That's all right.
It doesn't
matter.
Well,
doesn't
we'll
matter.
wander this way. So we're coming out
Okay.
to the back of factory 11, and we have an area here that is a little dusty at the moment. This is over in the corner. You can see Matt is working on this weird-looking hopper structure that's raised up off the ground.
Is this what
There's
we're hearing with the
fans
fan?
going.
Yeah.
That fan. So that's an extraction fan. And what we're setting up over there is a bagging station.
Okay.
What part of the kit, let's say we look at the P85.
Yep.
Part of the kit is this 6 kilo bag of refractory castable that you use to make your keystone. Now we could give you a 25 kilo bag, but that's a huge amount. And frankly, it'd be quite wasteful. If we send you a 25 kilo bag, you're going to throw 2/3 of it away. So what we do is we bag up, we take the 25 kilo bags, and we break them, open them up,
Yep.
and then we make up these 6 kilo bags.
Right.
What we used to do, and this is an example of like trying, I would not call myself an innovator at all, right? But what we're trying to do is make the processes as easy as possible.
yeah.
So what we used to do is we would pour the bag of powder into a big tub like you see here.
Yep.
And then we would get a scoop, like one of these, a big pipe that's cut to the right height.
Yes.
With a little cap on one end. We scoop up this measured amount and then we pour it into a bag.
Yep.
And it was very manual.
Yeah.
And oh my word, you would be covered in dust.
Yeah, I bet you would be.
And the guys
yeah.
we have full face respirators. We have aprons and everything, but you would just be filthy.
Yeah.
Filthy.
So
by
there's
the
got
end
to
of
be
it.
a better way, right?
Got to be a better way.
Okay.
It worked.
Yeah.
It was functional, but it was not. I would say it was one of the least enjoyed processes. And so what we got.
Was it?
Yeah. Matt agrees.
Matt agrees. He's nodding furiously there in the corner.
So what we have over here is a system where we can dump in 1/2 a ton
Yeah, right.
of castable, and there's a pneumatic actuator, like a gate, so we can dose out castable straight into a bag. And the plan is actually we're going to take this as we're going to make this into a pretty nerdy project. Yeah. We're going to have an Arduino.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Arduino?
no. So we're
Oh,
gonna. So what we like, Matt's super excited about it. He's nodding away. So the plan is to have an Arduino controlled system. So you just press a button, and it will dose out 6 kilos.
Oh, that's
and
great.
stop.
Yeah, right.
So you don't have to watch the scale and stop. Release
That is pretty
at the right
nerdy.
time. It's so much
it's
fun,
just
though.
so cool.
It's so much fun,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's so
great.
because we love, like Matt and I just love welding stuff.
Do you?
Oh, it's so much welding. My parents put me in a welding course when I was like
You're
15.
so lucky. I've never done any welding, never, and I've always wanted to do
It's
so.
not, and it's
Is
not
it-
that hard
Really,
if
it's
someone
pretty
just
easy.
shows you.
Yeah, right.
And so I did like TAFE courses,
Yeah.
like night courses when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. And so we put Matt's gone through these courses. He's gone and done some of the advanced ones as well.
Fantastic. That's
And so welding and stuff is great.
Yeah.
But then doing the finesse, say the programming and
Yeah, that's
that stuff. That's a whole nother part of.
And is that
making
you?
stuff.
Do you enjoy that sort of stuff?
Oh,
All
absolutely.
the electronics and all that?
Yeah.
That's the,
The first time I did it, I wanted to show people which bricks they should use in a wood-fired oven. I did it, and I've done a video. If anyone's like really bored, there's an awesome video, and it's called "What Bricks to Use in a Wood-Fired Oven."
that's one of your older videos.
It's
isn't
one of
it?
the old ones. It's probably 4 years old or so, maybe 5. And I built a test rig. So it's got a furnace. It's awesome. The video is
Yeah,
awesome.
cool.
But basically, we take samples of brick and put them into a furnace.
Yeah, I remember
heat
it
them
now.
up.
Yeah.
Then pull them out, cool them down.
Yep.
Heat them up, cool them down. Heat them up, cool them down. Over and over again. Did like 240 cycles. But I built this entire like pneumatic operated test
That's
rig.
right. Yes, I think
and it was
I remember
the
now.
nerdiest thing.
Yeah, how cool is that?
That I've done. And it was awesome.
Yeah, great
So
stuff.
if you want to see an
Well done.
example of
Well,
nerdy,
yeah,
nerdy building,
that's nerdy building.
You can see that.
Oh, my gosh.
So at the back here.
So hang on, before we go at the back,
Yes.
I'm looking at 4 rings here.
Yes.
So are these your
They are the
fire?
They are the fire pits, and because
Oh,
you were asking me the other
I
day,
was.
like, do you not make these
Yeah.
anymore? So
yeah. I had somebody text me and say, "Do these guys not do it anymore?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. I'll ask Ben."
and I absolutely love these. So it's an architectural fire pit where the bowl is suspended from cables and it hangs inside this.
Oh,
I
that's
think it's a really
so
pretty
cool.
ring.
Yeah.
Okay, so we I don't know how many of them we've made. We made quite a few, but what we paused production on them because we were just getting so many orders for the wood-fired ovens.
Is that right?
And we just had limited time.
Yes.
And I said, all right, we've just got to focus on, we have to make sure that we're focusing really carefully on the right things, that we don't just chase everything. Let's focus on the wood-fired ovens, make sure those are nailed down, that
Great.
we're able to keep up with the demand, that we're staying on top of the quality, and then if we have time later on, then we can bring these things back. So these were actually on the block. Like 6 months ago, this was on the
Were
block.
they?
The TV
So these
show.
are the block ones?
Yeah, well, these were, then we got so many, it happened,
I
it
bet.
aired after we'd stopped making them.
Oh, no.
It goes to air, and then we started getting all these inquiries. Oh, this fire pit, I can't find it on your website.
Oh, no.
So we just did a
no.
short run. We did a dozen. I think there's still 6 available.
Yeah.
So by the
Well,
time
there,
this
grab
goes
one.
to air,
Listeners out there,
there
grab one.
might be one left. We'll see.
Wow, they're amazing.
But they are really pretty.
Yeah.
And look, we will probably start making them again. So we did a run just to take care of all those people who'd seen it.
well done.
But we will probably make them again. Part of the
They
reason
do
for
look
that,
gorgeous, though.
They're pretty.
Wow,
they're really
they're
pretty.
gorgeous.
But I think one of the reasons I like having things like this, so a slightly different product, is to give my team a bunch of different stuff that they can do.
Yeah, nice.
So rather than say doing the same thing every day, we have some variety. And that's where we work really hard to rotate the guys through all of the different work we do. And you see there's
Yeah.
lots and lots of different stuff.
Oh,
that we
yeah,
do.
lots
and
of
it just
stations.
makes it,
Yeah.
in terms of a physical job, it makes it just interesting. You're not just lifting bricks all day.
Yeah.
You might lift some bricks, but then you might do a pour, and then you might do some TIG welding.
Yeah.
Maybe you do some fiberglassing. Brody's getting set up over there to make some fiberglass domes. And actually, let's wander
Let's have
over
a look
there.
at that, because
Yeah.
that looks familiar.
So yeah, you might recall in your oven,
Yes.
you built the dome with a Trammel tool.
That's right.
So that gets you up to like row 9 or so.
Oh, that was fantastic.
It's very satisfying.
It's
isn't it?
very satisfying. And I mean, that was probably the easiest part of the whole build. The base almost killed me, or
Yeah.
lifting buckets of concrete into the blockwork at
Yes.
the bottom. But then once all that was done, the actual building of the brick itself, the oven was easy.
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
no problems at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Steve and Brody are setting up here to start doing a run of domes.
Yep.
And so part of when you've laid, say, up to row 9 in the D105, then you'll take the Trammel out and you put in the fiberglass dome
Yep.
to lay the last few rows, because
right.
it's too vertical. If you lay a brick with the Trammel at that height, it just wants to fall in
Yeah.
under its own weight. So we have made custom made domes. So you'll see over here, there's actually 2 different sizes. You might not be immediately obvious, but so these ones here for the D105,
Yep.
and these ones here for the D95, right? And they're a slightly different curve because it's a different diameter oven.
Yeah, right.
So we have molds for each type of oven. We've got
Okay.
a D130 one, which is just enormous. So this is a good example of like, you wouldn't immediately think, oh, wood-fired ovens, manufacturing wood-fired ovens. Oh, it's going to be cutting bricks.
Yeah, and fiberglass.
And
It's
fiberglass doesn't
Fiberglass.
immediately spring to mind
It
as
doesn't.
part of the
No.
process.
No, that's right.
But it's, I think it's nice having these different processes because, again, then you're not so bored.
Yeah, that's great.
So Brody would say he hates his job here, don't you, Brody?
Oh, no, I love my job.
He loves it.
Yes, so that because
no,
you're
no.
here, Ben. That's right.
No, I think I think it was actually it might have been Brody walking him through for his initial interview. It was either you or someone else at the same time. And one of the comments that I had from them was, everyone seems to be, people don't seem to be that miserable.
No, that's good.
They didn't seem really depressed.
Well, you're doing something right then.
Because I want to hang on to these guys.
it's great.
I don't want them to just come and work for a few months
No, of
and
course you don't.
leave. So we're trying to make the work interesting.
Yep.
Having some variety, I think, is a big part of that. So we were talking about molds. So
Yep.
here's some
there's a whole
molds.
rack of them here.
Steve is our specialist fiberglasser. That's Steve there.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
So Steve, I
Everyone's
trained.
so busy here, Ben.
Good.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes, good.
Yeah, move. Oh, hi Sam. I really think that everyone does pull their weight, honestly,
Yeah.
and it's not something that we
sounds
have
like
to
a
police
very
and
nice
go,
team. No.
why aren't you going fast enough? We're not a cast of thousands; it's a small group. So, so Steve made all of these over here. These quite complicated parts. These are not a simple fiberglass part. These are very complex.
What are we looking at here? So I'm looking at a whole bunch of white and red molds. Now,
Yes.
Okay, I think I can figure out the shape, but perhaps you tell us.
Yeah,
what
what you're looking at here is thousands of dollars worth of fiberglass.
I
But
bet.
the idea of these are the molds for making our precast components of the ovens. So we have the flue gallery molds at the back there. These are all molds for the front of the P85, and there's quite a lot of them, and this is actually not all of them. We're gearing up to go from having 5 sets of molds to having 12.
Right.
To help us keep up with the demand particularly from America.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's doing all of this in-house means that we can have them when we want them, rather than being exposed to a supplier who's maybe backed up. Like nowadays, if you want anything done, and you know this, you call and say, "Oh, could I organise such and such for 2 weeks from now?" And,
maybe.
Yeah, but you might be waiting 3 months.
Yeah, so huge advantages on doing all of this stuff in-house.
Doing it ourselves, there's advantages. Like we certainly save some money doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
But we also, we can deal with the supply chain, sort of the timing of getting the things. But the other thing, again, coming back around to, it's another fun thing that we can do to mix up the work that we're doing every day. So, all right, so we'll move on from here. So now we're going to come around. So we're in the backyard of factory 11, the original factory.
Yes.
And now you'll notice the back of factory 10, the neighbouring factory, is open. So we've leased this one as well. In fact, we've actually leased all of the backyards of this entire complex, and we've created this rabbit warren of
Are you taking over this part of the world, Ben?
We are trying. We are actively trying. So we're in what we call Factory 10 now.
Okay, and I'm looking at, for the listeners' benefit, on the right-hand side here, we have got kits to the ceiling of your ovens.
Yes.
So tell us about what you're doing with all of these.
Okay, so yeah, we've got a rack entirely full of ovens right here.
It's actually quite spectacular, isn't it?
There's a lot of ovens. It's neat, isn't it?
It's kind of cool.
I'm so satisfied.
You wouldn't want to
like all the tapes lined up as well. Like all the
they
labels are all neat. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've worked on that, haven't you?
I like things to be done well. So what we have here are what we call standard kits. So we have P85s, D105s, D95s, all packed, all wrapped up on the shelves. And what we do with those is when you ring up and you order your D105, instead of packing it from scratch to order, which would probably take quite a while because your order would be in amongst a whole bunch of other ones, we can just pull one of these standard D105 kits down, put in your optional extras that you might have wanted the high temp paint or maybe the temperature gauge that goes through the wall.
Yep.
We pop those in and we can have it out the same day.
Yeah.
You could drive in and basically buy one and we could just pop it in your trailer.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So
now you can get these to the front door of my house.
Yes,
so
not in every area.
Okay.
In metropolitan areas, we can do curbside delivery.
Yeah.
And in Australia, the curbside, inverted commas, is actually really good. It's usually like right up to your garage.
Yeah.
In America, it's a different story. Oh man, and this is the fun part of like dealing with selling ovens around the world.
Yeah.
Is awesome.
Yeah.
But far out, like it's
all different.
It's all different. So in America, curbside literally means the foot of the curb, bottom. And if you've got, in American terms, a 300-foot driveway, then curbside delivery may not be as awesome as it sounds.
So you'd be getting your wheelbarrow and moving things out the back.
So that's a whole thing where we actually often recommend, hey, get it delivered to a local terminal, a depot, go down with your trailer, it gets loaded on with a forklift, and then you drive home and you back it up your driveway. And this is where some people get a bit confused. They go, but it's like a 1-ton thing. How do I get it out? You just open it.
One brick at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
But so many people get hung up on getting. They're like, no, I've got to get it off the trailer in one piece. I'm like, no,
you don't. No, and you can't because the driver who delivered ours, he drove it up our small sloping driveway right to the front of our garage, and then I must have had about 50 feet, 1 brick, 3, 4, 5 bricks at a time in the wheelbarrow around the back.
Yep.
Took me a couple of hours. It was fantastic. It was a great way to unpack the kit, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's something
no dramas at
we
all.
encourage people to do it because to unpack the kit pretty well as soon as they get it, because then at least you become familiar with all the components. But also, if there's anything that's damaged, which is rare, you pick it up straight away and we can sort it out straight away, rather than, and this happens, opening the kit the day that you're starting to lay the floor.
Oh, no.
And then going,
hang on.
One of my floor tiles has a crack in it. Of course, we would replace that, but even with air freight, it it might take a week to get to you, and we don't want that. We want you to be able to just tackle the build and love it.
Yeah.
Because then you recommend it to all your friends.
Absolutely right.
So anyway,
So on the left-hand side here, what are we looking at?
So this is actually assembly areas. So when I first started, we were in that little workshop before.
Yeah.
And I was saying I used to do everything in there.
Yeah.
So I would go, all right, I'm making doors today. And I'd bring out my little door jig and I'd set that up on the bench and I'd start welding and carry on. And then, today I'm making formwork. Right, get rid of the door jig. We've got to make formwork. And I'd set that up. And, the classic actually was drilling. Okay, so, I have a drill press in the workshop.
Yeah.
I love that drill press. And we have a couple of drilling operations. So we have one where we need to drill the handles for the oven doors. There's a screw top and bottom.
Yes.
That's got a pre-drilled hole.
Right.
And then there's another operation where the oven door, the metal handles, 6mm stainless steel, and we do a countersunk. We do a countersink at the top of the hole so that the screw doesn't poke out of the handle.
Flush at the top.
Flush.
Yeah, gotcha. Right.
And so I had jigs for that, but you had to bolt the jigs onto the drill.
Yep.
Set it all up. And I mean, I wanted it dialed into like a quarter of a mil. I wanted it accurate. And it would take me about 45 minutes to set up the jig, right? And so halfway through, someone doing, a set of, at that time, it was probably only like, 20 ovens worth of handles.
Yeah.
I would realize that I also need to drill something else. I need to drill.
But now you've set it up for this other thing,
and I'm like,
this is not an efficient way of operating.
Yeah, I'd have to take the jig off.
Oh, no, that's
and
not
then
good.
I drill the thing, and then at 45 minutes, I put the jig back on. So what we're looking at here,
Some gorgeous stations now. by the looks.
where they're always set up. So this is a station set up here to cut the handles to length.
Look at that. There
And
are the
so
handles.
We've got a guide here. So every handle comes out the same length. We can lock each handle on with a toggle clamp. And you're going to see a whole lot of these toggle clamps. Toggle clamps are the engineer's answer to everything.
Are they?
If the answer isn't toggle clamps,
There's a
it's
problem.
a dumb question. No, toggle clamps are brilliant. So for locking things in place, if you're making a jig of pretty well any description where you want to do something repetitive, toggle clamps.
Toggle clamps.
I should get shares in
Man,
toggle
you
clamps.
should, shouldn't you? They're very cool. Yeah, very nice. All right.
I should have done a big clean before you came, but
No,
thankfully
this
this
is
is more of an audio experience. So you'll see like every station, there's air lines, there's power set up.
Right.
Lots and lots of work. So I set up all of this. And it, honestly, if you said, Ben, what's your favorite thing to do like at work? Setting up infrastructure.
Is it? Yeah, that's
I
your
love
thing.
it.
That's your thing.
Because I
Yeah.
can see people using it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's great.
this is taking me a profound amount of time.
Must be very satisfying. Yeah, right.
Oh, it's super satisfying.
Yeah.
Because I get to build stuff
Yeah.
that my team is going to use, that they're going to,
That's great.
enjoy, and that we're going to turn out some great quality products. So we'll keep going through here.
Okay.
So over here, we actually have our TIG welding station.
They look like stainless steel doors
They
there.
are our stainless steel doors. And again, when your listeners see our oven door, they'll see that it's black, but it's actually stainless steel underneath. And the reason for that is there is no coating that will cope with the being outdoors and getting that hot on mild steel. It will just rust. The other thing that you'll see is almost everything in here is secondhand. So this is one of the few things. This is a new welder, right? I bought this brand new. It took me many, many years to get around to buying something brand new. Nearly everything that I have, I've bought on Graze Online.
Have you?
Or Gumtree.
Graze is great.
Graze is a horrible addiction,
Oh,
guys.
I bet it is.
If you don't know about Graze Online, I will just plug it right now. I don't have any shares,
No,
but
great.
you should get on there right
Oh,
now.
yeah, Graze is
It's-
awesome.
Well, it's
Yeah.
the last place on the internet that you can actually get bargains.
Yeah, great. Good.
So anyway, like we got this is a big hydraulic press.
Oh,
I
yeah.
reckon this thing
This
must
is
be
so cool.
It's got to be 60 years old. And so I got this for about $1,000
Fantastic. Did
on
you?
Graze Online.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And reconditioned it.
Did
and
you?
now this is how we make our oven door ringlets.
Okay.
So part of the oven door, you've got the handles.
Yep.
And on the left and right of the handle, you've got those stainless steel ringlets
Yes.
at the top and bottom.
Okay.
Now those are an interesting thing. We get them CNC cut in Dandenong from a piece of pipe. So here's one here. And so we've got this beautiful piece of tube. It's a piece of stainless steel tube cut to about 25 mil long.
Yep.
And so there's CNC machinists in Dandenong that make these for us. And then what we do...
Gorgeous. They're really,
the
really
problem
nice.
is if you put this on a door handle, a piece of timber dowel, it's just going to fall down. What's stopping it from
Yeah.
sliding down? Even if it started off as a press fit originally, in 10 years' time, the timber shrinking and
Shrinkage.
so on,
Yeah.
it's just going to fall down.
Yeah.
Right, so we need a cap on it. We need something to prevent this ringlet from falling. And what we used to do was we would weld a stainless steel washer into the top of the tube. Yeah. Oh my word. Time consuming.
I bet it was.
Did my head in. Actually, that's the little jig for it
Oh,
down
yes,
there on the floor.
Yes, I can
so
see that.
So you set up your 12
Yep.
ringlets and you'd weld them all. And,
Oh my gosh.
and it was one of those processes where you learn about yourself. About like how much tedious sort of work.
patience
Like
Ben
you
has.
sort of you start to twitch from the tediousness of it. So what we do now is we actually have stainless steel washers laser cut for us, but they're oversized, and we use the press to press them into the top of the ringlet, and that means we can do these nice and quickly.
So is that a friction press? Is it the way a friction?
It's what
fit?
you would call an interference fit.
Okay.
So it's actually oversized such that it's actually forcing right into the ring, and it will not come out.
Okay.
I tested this because the last thing I wanted was for them to be in America and,
and they
and
come
start
out.
falling apart.
Yeah, right.
So yes.
So that's
that's fun.
So your 60-year-old press does that for you. Well
It
done.
does that for us, and it's a very satisfying
It's a gorgeous
thing. So we have one of our drilling jigs. Yep. So remember we talked about drilling before. Yep. We now have a drill set up for drilling the handles. We have another drill set up for countersinking the handles.
So much
and then
more
I have
efficient.
another drill that I can do whatever I want on, whatever I like.
See, you're learning. You're doing well.
But it's also a matter of not having the money when you start up. It wasn't like we had some big investor.
No.
I was working full time as an engineer, and I wanted to start this business, and I had $5,000 on the credit card.
There you go.
And I was going to do everything out of my garage initially,
Well,
and I did. My very first delivery of Firebricks was just one pallet. I got that into my garage, and I sold that.
Oh my god.
And then I got a container on the way, and I thought I actually was planning on putting it in my garage, if I'm honest, a single car garage. I had done a CAD drawing. I'd modeled it up. I drew it all in 3D, and I was like, "This can be done." I reckon I could do this. Yeah. It's going to be tight, but I reckon I can do it. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't. It was going to be awful. But I leased the first factory just before it arrived, and But anyway, I didn't. The reason I had one drill was I couldn't afford two drills.
That's right.
And so it's been really lovely. Like, this is fairly recent. This is probably only a year ago that we set this up, these new drills. Having that little bit of extra money coming in, meaning we can set up a little better.
Yeah.
Which is really, really lovely.
A lot more efficient for you.
Yeah. So
that's great.
This one here. So here we're looking at a really funky jig.
We
How would
are
you describe this?
Well, I don't know. It's got these red handle things, though.
It's got a red handle thing. Yeah, that's fun. It's got two of those.
Oh, it does have two.
It's got
LED lights.
Two toggle clamps. It's got LED lights.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And what it has hiding underneath is 3 pneumatic rivet guns. And this is how we put the logos on the oven doors.
Oh, okay. Is that right?
And so you load a logo on, you load your rivets in, you load your logo on, you put your door on, you clamp it down, and then you pull this handle.
And there it is.
And all 3 guns go off at the same time.
That's clever stuff.
And we call it Cerberus. It's a 3-headed dog of the underworld, right?
Oh, that's great.
And so we actually have names for nearly everything here.
That's very cool.
So
you designed this whole thing
yourself? Yeah. That was, and look, it wasn't like I came up with it overnight. It was something I think I've probably been thinking about in the shower for years.
Because as you do.
Well, it was a problem we were having was, man, these logos are really hard to put on. How can we make this easier?
Yeah, right.
And that's what I love that stuff because my mind just sort of churns over it. Yeah. Probably why I don't sleep all that well.
Yeah. All that gorgeous coffee you drink. Perhaps.
Yeah, that's probably got something to do with it. So this is where we take the doors. So we've welded them just over there.
Yep.
We send them off for blasting and painting. Mm-hmm. They come back to us. We put the door handles on. We put the logos on here.
Yeah. And
then they come around here, all complete, ready for a final check.
Yep.
They're put into boxes with their other components. And then, and this is really important, is a final check is done by someone else. So we have QA.
Yeah,
so
good.
The team are trained in quality assurance, like inspection.
Yep.
So we go through with them, these are the things that you're looking for. And so every single thing that we send out has actually been checked by 2 people.
Okay,
so you got the person who packed it.
Yeah.
And then you have the QA member who signs off on it.
Before it's out the door.
Yeah. Because I remember, and we've got Marcus in the background here, our production manager. Marcus, do you remember that?
Marcus. Good. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Do you remember, Marcus, that time that we sent about 30 oven door boxes to America and they had the wrong size flew cowling in them.
Yeah, that wasn't too fun.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
That would have been a bit of a bugger.
It was annoying. It was irritating because
Whose fault was that?
that was one of our previous employees. Well, it was in the end. It's my fault because no, I'm dead set. Like it was my fault because I didn't have a process in place to check that.
To catch those
I
sorts
was
of things.
trusting at that time.
But we're all human, right?
We're all human and we are
all make
hopeless.
mistakes.
We are hopeless. And by having two people involved in the process, you can take out that.
You can mitigate more risk.
Correct.
Yeah. You can't get rid of it, but you can
mitigate it.
You can certainly mitigate that. These are good looking doors, though.
They are.
Oh, they're gorgeous, aren't they?
Do
you so you don't polish your wood handles? I think on the very first door that I got, I might have put some oil or something on them to darken them up.
When they come out to you, and this is actually something that I'd love your listeners to know, they'll come out to you as raw timber, but they've been machined, so they're nice and smooth. And you can leave them that way, and they've got this lovely sort of soft look to them. But if you want them to darken up, get a bit more color, just take some. You can take some mineral oil. You can use olive oil. Just wipe them down. And if you do that every 6 months or so, every 6 months, it's in a really rough environment. If you've got your oven outdoors,
mine
and
gets
you're leaving
rained on.
your door outside,
sure.
firstly it's getting really hot. But then it's UV, rain.
If you're enjoying this episode, I'd like to invite you to head on over to Facebook and join my Wood-Fired Oven Chronicles Facebook group. Join hundreds and hundreds of wood-fired oven enthusiasts from all around the world as they share their favourite recipes, tips and techniques to supercharge all of our wood-fired oven cooking skills. Head on over to Instagram as well, Marks_wood-fired oven for more information on this podcast.
So through here, we're sort of coming into, we're still in our second factory, and in here we've got tiny little kitchenette, but this is primarily just for making coffee.
I was about to say, that's a gorgeous coffee machine.
It's a La Marzocco coffee machine that we got from Spect Design.
Ah, I wondered if it was.
I
followed mine
love that man.
On the gram.
Dan is the man. So if you like coffee, check out Dan's Spect.
Yeah, beautiful. It is beautiful.
So he customizes the machine.
Yeah.
And so he's made all these lovely walnut handles for us. Anyway, I got that because, well, I like coffee, but so do a lot of my team. Yeah. And so I wanted to spoil them a bit.
And you want to keep them awake.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, the amount of energy drinks those guys go through. Don't even get me started.
Caffeine's good. I live and die by caffeine at work.
We wanted to make it a nice place to work. And I thought, well, I like that. So I'll probably like it too.
Yeah, good on you. Okay, we've walked into another room here.
Yes.
Lots of cardboard in this room.
Yes, lots of cardboard, lots of little things. This is our where we sort of do our online store. So if you're buying an accessory, like maybe you want some Solid Techniques pans, or maybe you one of our stainless steel grills.
Little, Nat. So I've got one of those.
Yes.
That is gorgeously designed grill.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular, and I work that thing hard.
It's solid. I've designed it. It actually where the design sort of stemmed from was I was making charcoal grills for restaurants.
Right.
And I needed to make them. They had to be heavy duty, man. I tell you. Restaurants flog the living daylights out of everything. No offense, chefs, but I know you're in a hurry.
But they do.
But do you really have to hit everything that hard? No, I knew that they had to be really robust.
Yeah.
And so the original design was for a charcoal grill for a restaurant. And then I thought, man, I'd love to be able to just cook over coals in the oven. I wonder if let's make something. And look, back in the day, I would, and in the early videos, and I think there's still one online that you can watch, I'd say, look, just get the barbecue grill off your barbecue.
Yeah.
Grab a grill, perch it on a couple of bricks.
Yep, for sure.
And bang, you're cooking steaks over hot coals, and there's nothing like it. But it's not that practical, particularly the little bricks being in there. It's a bit awkward. Yep. So having the grill as this single piece with effectively with legs raises it up to a nice height.
It is.
You can just rake some coals forward and literally throw the grill in there.
Oh yeah,
and
it's robust. It is robust.
It's thick.
And for the racks on the top, you've angled them.
Yes.
So the pointy, because they're actually square stock.
Square bar.
Yeah.
And so 8x8 mil square bar, and it's on the diagonal so that you get maximum heat into your meat.
Yep.
So it's not heat that's passing through the stainless. It's you're getting like all those lovely hot gases and the flavor of the charcoal into the food. So
it's a grill.
Anyway,
it's a Tuscan grill. Is that what you call it?
We call it a Tuscan grill.
But yeah,
I mean,
it's fairly Tuscan-y.
Well, you find my names for stuff, right? So it's like the D105. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
It's D for diameter.
Is that what
100
D stands for?
Yeah, yeah.
I know
100
what 105.
yeah, 105 centimeters, right?
Right, okay.
It's not. It's so because I was like, when I designed it, I'm like, oh, do I call it the Leonardo or the DiCaprio? Or
Yeah.
you know, I didn't like. And I'm like, Ben, you're an engineer.
Yeah.
Stick with what
What's
you're good
a
at.
good engineer name for
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
Give it a
D105.
number. Give it a.
But it's
give it a-
catchy. It's great.
It
The
works.
P85
And
is catchy.
Well, it turns out I think there's a Tesla P85, so I might have to duke it out with Elon Musk at some point over that name. But
Sell 'em,
I
Elon.
know who's going to win that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is our online store, and we ship out all these little accessories to people around the world. So we have recently started shipping to New Zealand and America.
To the homeland.
The freight is the shipping. We're doing our best with the shipping prices, and we'll continue working to get those shipping prices.
So do
down.
you sell directly into NZ, or do you have a distributor over there?
Well, New Zealand, we've actually set up our own company in New Zealand. So it's how I've approached selling our products all over the world.
So that's what you've done in the States,
yeah,
right?
so let's talk about America.
Flamesmith, is it?
So we set up Flamesmiths Inc. In the USA in 2016. Far out. Tell you.
Was that quite a process?
Oh, yeah. Well, because effectively we're trying to create a little multinational,
Yeah.
the world's smallest multinational company.
You're taking over the world.
Yeah,
from Melbourne.
not even close. But we wanted to start selling our ovens in America. So I was like, all right, well, what's involved in that?
Yeah.
If we send one, so Joe Bloggs in Colorado buys an oven, he can pay our Australian company, and we send it all the way to him.
Yeah.
But then when it gets to the dock, they have to deal with all the customs clearances, all this massive process that is really quite challenging for someone, particularly for someone who's never done it before. It's hard and expensive.
Yeah.
And sending one oven at a time, frankly, is like the cost was ferocious. So how it started was people kept asking. We kept, people saying, how much would it cost to send one to America? So then I looked into, well, how much would it cost to send a container load? It was much better. It was like a quarter of the cost of per crate.
Efficiency of scale. Isn't it?
Correct. So we have set up our own American company. So our American company, Flamesmiths, buys our ovens from us.
From here, yep.
And then we use third-party warehousing in the US.
Brilliant.
And they'll charge us per crate per week or whatever. So we've got a warehouse in Compton in California. We've got another one in New Jersey.
Oh, right.
And so we store them on both sides of the country.
Oh, so that's genius.
Well,
that's great.
I mean,
and that works well. That sort of setup works well.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually, some ways, it's actually easier. The sales in America are so simple. All we have to do is send an email to our warehouse and say, hi, team, Joe Bloggs in Colorado has bought one of our ovens.
Yeah, great.
Please send it to him.
Yeah,
we have an account with one of the biggest freight companies in America. They've given us I don't know how I got the discount I got with them, but we've got some pretty reasonable pricing for shipping around America.
Fantastic.
And we can deliver curbside
Ish.
everywhere in America. Ish, exactly. And well, this is the thing. We take them through it. We say, we can do curbside delivery. This is what it's going to be like.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, so we've done the same thing in New Zealand, where we've set up our own company in New Zealand. And again, bit of a process because we're not New Zealanders. We sell our ovens to that company. They deal with all the customs stuff. So when I say we, through the New Zealand company, deal with all of that. So the customer.
So where's your warehouse in NZ?
It's in Auckland.
Ah, great.
Yeah. So our first
Whereabouts
shipment,
in Auckland?
Oh, now
20
you're asking.
years of my, 20 years of my life.
All the names, but the names now. The names, I can't say them. They're like, it's like Mangere.
Mungary.
Mungary. See?
Mungary.
Mangere.
Yeah,
Great. Yes, and such.
Ben, that's where the airport
What an
is.
Aussie. So I think it's near there. Oh, hopeless. But so I guess where I'm getting at is we had the option to sell through distributors.
Yeah.
And we get asked about it probably every fortnight. Someone will inquire, we would like to distribute your products. And we decided quite a while ago that we were going to do it ourselves. And there's a few reasons for doing that. One of the big ones is the cost of the kits would go up for the end buyer.
They'd have to, yeah.
In order for us to continue making a profit on them, they would have to jack up the end price. Yeah. But then the other thing is, in terms of the customer service required for these products, the kit is not something you could really buy from your local landscape yard and then call them and say,
no, it's not.
hey guys, I've got a question about this, because you need such an innate knowledge of the product, of the kit, to provide good service. And so we decided, well, if we're going to be providing all that service, then we'll we'll provide the sales. I'm not trying to create a high volume company.
Yeah.
It's a low volume,
High quality. Huh?
high quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And high touch, I guess you would call it, where we're really making sure we've got the resources in terms of staff to take care of everyone's questions.
Well, that's a very smart way of running the business, though. So there must be some countries where it's difficult to externally set up a company. Have you done it in Canada yet?
Actually, we have.
You have
Yeah,
now?
no, but don't tell anyone.
Well, no. Because the reason I asked Canada
Yes.
is somebody via the podcast sent in a question for you saying, why can't I get one of your ovens in Canada?
Okay.
Very
yes.
difficult for them.
No, so it's not impossible. In fact, the company structure is done. So we've set up the company.
Great.
And we've all the lawyers. Oh my word! It's in Australia. If you want to set up a company, you can do it online yourself.
Yep, it's easy, right?
Or and for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can contact your accountant, and you might pay maybe $1,500.
Yeah, it's no dramas.
It's not nothing, but it's not wild. Oh my word! America, there were lawyers involved and multiple accountants, and it was $10,000 later. We've nearly got the company.
What?
It's an expensive
Wow,
undertaking.
really?
So anyway, but it's a one-off. You don't have to pay for it every year or anything. So
you don't.
we've done that. So I've done that in America, New Zealand, and Canada. What's missing in Canada is we now need to get our warehousing set up.
Yep.
And the big one is freight. So let's say I go, oh, sweet, I've got a warehouse set up. And I could probably find one in about a month. I could have a warehouse nailed down. That is like 1/4 of the problem. The big problem is, well, you're in Ontario and we've got them stored in Toronto, which my geography is not great, but I'm sure that that's more than 15 minutes away.
It's a long way.
It's a long way, right?
Yeah.
How do I get it to you? Because once we start selling ovens in Canada, I can't just say, oh, we only sell them around Toronto.
Yeah, right.
We'll be letting a lot of people down. So I need to establish a relationship with a freight company that can handle that. And you say, well, surely, Ben, and listeners will be like, come on, how long could that take you?
I know.
You know,
a lot of Canadian listeners to the podcast, maybe.
Right? And I was like, come on, how long is that going to take you? We've just had I've got so many things that I have to get done. So
you're a busy man.
Setting up new jigs.
Yeah.
I'm in the background. So we just set up the New Zealand website.
Great.
I don't know how many hours I poured into that website, right?
Yeah, sure.
We've got
Your website's gorgeous, by the way.
Well, that's the old website. No, you haven't seen the new
what?
one.
You're
The new one. Oh, it's even
Is it?
because the old website's nice. The new one is better.
beautiful, isn't
Anyway, I digress.
All right, very good.
So Canadians, we love you, and we will be selling ovens to you. It's just
There you go.
and it's
It's on its
honestly,
way.
I want to get them over there so bad. But here's another thing. You want to start selling ovens in Canada or any product, where you have to get all your instructions translated into French.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Do you speak French?
Je m'appelle Ben.
Oui.
Tu t'appelles comment?
Très bien.
Yes, ça va.
Oui, ça va.
That's it. Right.
Croissant.
So it's another
Yeah.
little hurdle.
Yeah, sure.
But it's also, the other thing is making sure that we're across all of the legislative requirements.
Yeah.
So New Zealand is fantastic because
Isn't it?
we have similar rules. Yes, a beautiful,
Isn't
wonderful
it? It's
place.
gorgeous country.
Like it's great because we looked into the legislation and we have very similar legislation.
Easy.
In fact, I think we share legislation on flues, for example.
Is it really?
Yeah. Our standards
Yeah,
actually have a wonderful crossover.
Yeah, great.
Whereas when you're dealing, say, with Canada,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the legislation going, all right, what are the rules around these things? And as much as I'd just like to assume that everything's fine.
You don't want to expose yourself?
Well, I don't want to expose myself or our customers
No, you don't.
to something I shouldn't. So we're trying to make sure that's all nailed down.
Great.
In the end, I try to be very patient.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love to have, sales happening in Canada and, just pumping everywhere, I want to make sure that every little step we take is a little step forward.
That's great.
We don't go backwards, and we've thought each one through. And we're not just like chasing lots of sales and
That's
money.
great.
It's just take our time. That will come. But we just got to get it right.
And what's the saying? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
The Marines.
Oh, the Marines.
Yeah, it was a SEALs
I
or
love
something. It was one
SEALs,
of those.
yeah, but it's applications
slow
for
and smooth.
aviation. It's great.
But I actually say that to the team.
Yeah.
Phil, one of our guys, the one he probably consumes the most energy drinks. Phil, I worry about his heart. Anyway, he was working on the drill press and he was drilling handles. Man, it was like it was a whirlwind.
Yeah,
you know,
really.
it was just the drill's like bang, bang,
Oh,
bang,
it's great.
bang. I came over to him. I'm like, okay, slow down. Take your time.
Yeah.
You don't have to go that fast. I don't want you to put your hand into the drill. Like, just slow down. It's, but yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And just growing organically.
Yeah.
Allowing the business to grow slowly rather than pushing. We could grow probably fairly quickly by getting a distributor would be a good example where we could sell hundreds more ovens into America just by going into one of the big box stores. But it's not what I want.
But it's nice, and it allows you to just maintain a bit more of that control and that more personal nature with your customers directly too. And I think that's great. Oh yeah,
and I love talking. I don't get as much opportunity as I like to talk to customers anymore because I am meant to be setting up companies in Canada. And
that's right. And here you are talking to me.
Yeah, right.
So,
wasting my time. I could be setting up the company in Canada.
Sorry about that.
All right. So if someone's going to,
I'll go in a minute.
If someone's going to apologise to the Canadians, it should be you.
Okay, sorry, Canadians. Okay, so you've got pizza peels at the end
so
here.
We've got a whole bunch of stock here ready to go out to customers. And if we come around the corner, we can go upstairs, which we're linked together by a cable at the moment. So we'll do.
You go first.
We'll do in a careful operation.
Well, this is the first time I've done mobile interview walking around.
I think it's working great.
It's working good.
It. All right, so up here we're in the tea room for the guys.
This is pretty comfy tea room you got here. You got like 16,000 couches here.
Oh, so it's about 9, but yeah, sure. Well, what I did was, so again, it's that whole thing of like, do for other people what you would have them do for you. And so I like to be comfortable, and I thought, well, why wouldn't they? So we've got leather couches everywhere. I spent a whole weekend with the trailer and Gumtree.
Oh,
and I'm like,
Gumtree's great too, isn't
leather couch near me, and then and I went and bought. So like, there's a lazy boy there. There's some pretty good couches, and we tried to make it really comfortable. And we went with leather because it's a dusty job, and so we get cleaners come through every week, and they can wipe everything down. It's nice and clean, good as new. So yeah,
that is cool. It's very nice.
We've got our some lockers, and we've got sort of where they can
you got
prepare
4
food.
microwaves.
Well, this is the thing. If you've got, let's say, 10 people using this space all at the same time, and you've only got 1 microwave,
It's going to be a long lunch
break. You're having a bad time.
Yes.
And even 2, you're like, well, you've got to, it's going to take way too long. So microwaves aren't expensive. Now, one day they'll be matching.
Okay.
That's when we know we've made it.
Electronically controlled, won't they?
No, see how every microwave, what we're seeing there, we've got 4 microwaves and they're all different sizes and different colors. And while that doesn't bother me, if they all matched, it would be really nice. And up on the wall behind that, we put up these thank yous. Now, this is just a tiny little sample of. So we
thank you from customer wall. That's nice.
So we just got where customers have written in and said thank you. And look, we have hundreds of these. This is just a sample of them. And we put these up so the team can actually.
It's nice, isn't it?
Because we get told it. Jeremy, myself, Kate, we're on the phone to customers all the time.
It's great.
And we get this lovely feedback from them.
Yeah.
And you basically glow inside.
Oh, yeah, but that's what it's about.
It's
you take great
it's
pride
nice.
in your work, and this is so nice.
The team aren't on the phone to the customers, so they don't really. They're sort of disconnected. I'm like, no. You got to understand how much people love what you're doing. So, like they appreciate the level of effort and care that you're putting into your work.
Thanks for joining me on this part 1 episode of this fascinating factory tour at the Melbourne Firebrick Company. Join me in a few weeks when we finish this wonderful walkthrough. Hopefully I won't get lost in this amazing place that Ben and Kate and their team have put together over the last few years. Stay safe, have fun, and go cook with fire. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure you follow the Wood-Fired Oven podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app. Please consider posting a review on Apple Podcasts, as this really helps the show. Don't forget to check out woodfiredoven.cooking for more tips, tricks, and advice on cooking with fire. You can also see full episode notes and links. You can also post a question which I may feature on the show. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, so head over to your favorite social platform and get in touch. Thanks again for listening. Catch you next time.